Let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time your phone showed you something and your first thought was, how did it know that? You didn't search for it, but it just showed up at exactly the right moment. And it usually doesn't start with scrolling on purpose. So you probably open your phone to reply to one message. That's the plan. But 20 minutes later, you're still scrolling. You're not even sure what you just watched. You feel a bit distracted. It's nothing dramatic. You feel just a little off. And here's the strange part. At no point did you actually decide to stay. This video isn't about robots taking over the world. It's not about AI being evil either. Most of the systems we're talking about are designed to be genuinely helpful. But helpful systems still optimize. And optimization always nudges behavior somewhere. The uncomfortable truth is that AI doesn't need to control you. It just needs to notice patterns and lean on them again and again in very small ways. What you see, when you see it, and how it's framed slowly starts shaping your attention, your emotions, and your habits without you really noticing. So let's break this down. 10 everyday ways artificial intelligence is already shaping how you think and feel, often without asking for permission. Once you see these patterns, they're hard to unsee, and they change how you use your phone in ways you don't expect. Number 10, your feed knows when you are emotionally open. Think about the last time you were scrolling late at night. Not because you were bored, exactly. And not because you were looking for anything in particular either. You just kept going, almost on autopilot. At some point, the tone shifts. You might not even notice it straight away. The content starts feeling heavier, more personal, a bit more emotionally charged. That change isn't random. Modern recommendation systems don't just look at what you like or tap on. They watch how you move through content in small, almost invisible ways, like when something holds your attention a fraction longer than expected, or when you find yourself slowing down without realizing why. Those tiny cues add up. Researchers in computational psychology have shown that patterns like this often line up with emotional states, things like stress, loneliness, or low energy. The system doesn't need to know what you're feeling in words, it just needs to recognize the pattern. And what it's optimizing for is pretty straightforward: keeping your attention. Content with a mild emotional pull tends to work best, and over time, that does something subtle to your brain. Low energy moments start getting linked with stimulation. Instead of sitting with boredom or letting a feeling pass on its own, your hand reaches for the feed almost automatically. It's not that the feed puts you in a bad mood. It notices when you already are. And once it learns when you're most open, it doesn't forget that timing easily. Number 9. Notifications quietly retrain your sense of urgency. Here is a simple test. How often do you check your phone without any notification at all? If the answer is often, you are not imagining it. Notifications are no longer just alerts. They are behavior-shaping tools. Artificial intelligence systems test delivery, timing, wording, and frequency constantly. They learn when you are most likely to respond quickly. The goal is not to inform you. The goal is to pull you back in. Studies on variable reward schedules show that unpredictable cues trigger stronger dopamine responses than predictable ones. This is the same mechanism used in gambling systems. Of course, some notifications are important, but most are not. But your brain doesn't know that difference in the moment. Each alert trains a micro-habit, and over time, this changes your baseline state. You feel slightly behind, even when nothing is happening. Silence starts to feel uncomfortable, and focus becomes harder to hold. Look, the system is not trying to stress you out. It's optimizing for speed of re-engagement. The side effect is that your nervous system stays gently switched on all day, which is exhausting, even if you can't explain why. Number 8. Advertisements do not persuade you, they wait for you. We need to clear something up. Modern advertising doesn't work because it's clever. It works because it's patient. Artificial intelligence-driven advertising systems do not try to convince everyone. They wait for moments of high probability. They track signals like recent searches, browsing behavior, time of day, device usage, and even how long you hesitate before clicking. This allows them to predict when you are most receptive. It's not about you being interested. They focus on the moments when you're likely most receptive. For example, you might see an advert for productivity tools after a long work session, or fitness content late at night, or you might watch relationship content after extended scrolling. So the message itself is often simple, but the timing is the real strategy. Neuroscience research shows that decision-making becomes more emotion-driven under fatigue or stress. In those states, the brain relies more on shortcuts and less on deliberate reasoning. So, when an advert appears at the right moment, it doesn't feel like persuasion, it feels like recognition. That is why you hear people say, "I was just thinking about this." The effect on your brain is important. Impulse starts to feel like intention, and a reaction starts to feel like a choice. You are not quite being tricked. You are being caught at the moment your guard is naturally lower, and that's far more efficient. Number 7. Recommendation systems slowly shrink your sense of possibility. Think about the last time you discovered something truly unexpected online. A song that did not fit your usual taste. A video that challenged how you see the world. Or probably a topic you never even searched for, but it somehow stayed with you long after. For most people, moments like that are becoming rare. Recommendation systems are designed to reduce friction, not expand horizons. They observe what you engage with, how long you stay, and what makes you hesitate. Then they serve you more of what feels familiar, with just enough variation to keep it interesting. So you find stuff with a similar tone, same pacing, and even same emotional temperature. From a system perspective, this is efficient, because surprise introduces risk, and risk increases drop-off. Familiarity keeps people comfortable and watching longer. Internal research from major platforms has repeatedly shown that predictable content outperforms novelty when it comes to sustained engagement, so the system learns to play it safe. The brain, however, thrives on contrast. Psychological research shows that curiosity is activated by difference, not repetition. Novelty stimulates exploratory behavior. Too much sameness dulls it. When exposure narrows, curiosity doesn't disappear overnight. It fades quietly. You start to feel like there is less to explore, even though there is more content than ever. New ideas feel tiring instead of exciting. Different viewpoints feel irritating instead of interesting. This is not because you became close-minded, it's because your environment became quieter. The system is optimizing for what you already like, not for what might stretch you, challenge you, or surprise you. Over time, your digital world becomes a mirror instead of a window, a reflection of your past behavior and not a space for discovery. Number 6. Navigation systems change how you experience the real world. Let's talk about maps now. Modern navigation systems prioritize efficiency above all else. Fastest route, fewest turns, least delay. And that's incredibly useful. No one wants to get lost on a busy morning. But something subtle happens when every journey is optimized. You stop making spatial decisions or noticing landmarks, and you stop forming a mental picture of where you are. Cognitive science research has shown that people who rely heavily on turn-by-turn navigation show reduced engagement in the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for spatial memory and orientation. In simple terms, your brain delegates the work. The system is optimizing for arrival time. It's not optimizing for understanding or awareness. This delegation has emotional effects too. When every route is framed as a problem to solve quickly, the world starts to feel transactional. Delays feel like failures. Wrong turns feel stressful and not curious. You arrive faster, but you remember less. You move through places instead of inhabiting them. Streets become corridors. Cities become obstacles between you and your destination. The map does not rush you intentionally. It simply teaches your brain that speed matters more than presence. And once that lesson settles in, it starts to apply everywhere. Number 5. Dating apps turn attraction into a game of probability. This one tends to hit close to home. Dating apps are often framed as tools for connection, but structurally, they are engagement platforms. That does not make them malicious. It just makes them businesses. Most dating systems use ranking and matching algorithms that optimize for interaction metrics. And the key mechanism here is unpredictability. Behavioral psychology has long shown that intermittent reinforcement creates stronger habit loops than consistent rewards. When outcomes are uncertain, the brain pays closer attention. You swipe, nothing happens. You swipe again, a match appears. So you get a brief dopamine spike, and then just silence. The system learns what keeps you swiping, not what helps you settle. From the brain's perspective, attraction becomes abstracted, detached from shared context, tone of voice, or presence, compressed into photos, short bios, and rapid judgments. Over time, this reshapes how attraction feels. Novelty starts to feel more exciting than familiarity. Potential becomes more stimulating than reality, and connection feels provisional, not grounded. Many users report feeling exhausted or emotionally numb, even while technically meeting more people, because choice overload sets in and depth feels effortful. The app is not broken, it's functioning as designed. The quiet effect is that intimacy begins to feel like a numbers game, and when connection feels probabilistic, commitment starts to feel heavier. So far, none of these systems have forced you to do anything. They have simply made certain behaviors easier, certain choices more likely, and certain habits more automatic. That is how optimization works. The real influence of artificial intelligence does not come from control. It comes from defaults. And the next systems are even harder to notice, because they feel productive, helpful, and responsible, which is exactly why they work. Number 4, Autoplay slowly removes your sense of enough. Think about the last time you watched one video on purpose. Just one. Autoplay is one of the simplest features ever created, and one of the most influential. When a video ends and another begins instantly, your brain never receives a clear stopping cue. There is no pause. No moment to ask, am I done? From a system perspective, this is deliberate. Every pause is a decision point. Every decision point is an opportunity for you to leave. And so the pause disappears. Research on behavioral momentum shows that people are far more likely to continue an action when it flows uninterrupted. The brain prefers continuity over choice, especially when tired or overstimulated. Over time, this reshapes how stopping feels. You do not stop because you feel complete. You stop because you are exhausted or distracted by something external, and that distinction matters. Completion used to be an internal signal. Now it's often external. Your sense of enough weakens. Rest feels unfinished. Entertainment fades into background noise rather than a contained experience. Autoplay does not force you to watch more. It removes the moment where intention used to live. And when intention fades quietly, habit steps in to fill the gap. Number 3, your search results shape what feels true before you even think. When you search a question online, you probably trust the first few results. Not because you examined the sources carefully, but because they appear calm, clean, and confident. Search systems prioritize relevance, authority signals, and clarity. They are designed to reduce ambiguity and deliver fast resolution. Most of the time, that is helpful. But the order of information matters more than we realize. Psychological research on anchoring shows that the first information people encounter strongly influences how they interpret everything that follows, even when later information is more accurate. So when an answer appears at the top, framed decisively, your brain relaxes. It feels like the question has been settled. The system is optimizing for speed and satisfaction. Over time, this subtly changes how curiosity behaves. Instead of exploring multiple perspectives, you skim until something sounds right. Instead of questioning, you accept. Not because you are careless, but because your environment rewards speed over depth. The danger here is not misinformation. It's confidence without examination. When answers arrive instantly, uncertainty begins to feel unnecessary. And yet, uncertainty is where thinking actually begins. Number 2, productivity tools teach you to manage yourself like a machine. Productivity software promises clarity and often delivers it. Artificial intelligence now helps prioritize tasks, predict workloads, and suggest schedules. The optimization goal is simple: consistency and output. But when everything becomes measurable, something internal shifts. You begin monitoring yourself. You start asking questions. Am I efficient enough? Am I behind? Am I using my time correctly? This reflects what psychologists call self-surveillance. When monitoring systems are internalized, people begin regulating themselves even when no one else is watching. The effect is quiet but persistent. Intuition weakens, rest feels undeserved, and value becomes tied to visible progress. You are no longer just doing the work, you are observing yourself doing it. This can increase productivity in the short term, but it also narrows how you define success. The tools are not harmful by default. They are powerful, and power reshapes behavior. When your inner life is constantly translated into tasks, metrics, and optimization targets, you risk losing touch with quieter signals such as curiosity, energy, or meaning. You become efficient, for sure, but sometimes less human. Number 1. Artificial intelligence learns your patterns faster than you learn yourself. So this is the quietest shift of all. Your music app predicts your mood, your feed anticipates what you want to see, and your recommendations feel increasingly accurate. These systems are designed to reduce uncertainty. The better they predict you, the smoother the experience feels. But prediction has a side effect. When external systems constantly reflect your preferences back to you, self-reflection weakens. I mean, why pause and ask what you want when it's already waiting for you? Over time, identity begins to feel pre-filled. You are not discovering yourself. You are just confirming a pattern. This does not mean you lose free will. It means your defaults grow stronger, and defaults matter. Behavioral science shows that people rely heavily on default options, especially when decisions are frequent or low effort. When systems learn your patterns, they begin shaping what feels normal. The system does not tell you who you are. It shows you a version of yourself that is easy to predict. The more comfortable that version becomes, the harder it is to step outside it. Surprise fades, experimentation slows, and growth feels optional. So far, we've focused on what optimization does to you as an individual. But artificial intelligence rarely works at the individual level alone. It works at scale. When the same optimization systems shape millions of people at once, attention stops being personal, and it becomes synchronized. Trending topics rise faster than ever, emotional reactions spread quickly, and certain stories dominate public space while others quietly disappear. This is not because everyone suddenly agrees. It's because algorithms reward what travels well. Researchers who study information cascades describe a simple pattern. Once something becomes visible enough, people treat it as more credible. They share it because they see others sharing it, and that visibility becomes a signal in itself. So popularity starts to look like importance. This shifts how public conversation feels. Nuanced ideas struggle to survive because nuance is slow. And slow content loses to content that creates instant reaction. Complex topics get compressed into shorter, sharper formats that fit feeds and headlines. It's not that people suddenly became less thoughtful, it's that the environment rewards speed over reflection. Disagreement becomes louder but not deeper. Everything feels urgent, but nothing feels resolved. And once everyone is nudged into constant reaction, silence starts to feel suspicious. Pauses feel awkward, and not reacting feels like falling behind. The collective brain becomes crowded. People know more information than ever, but fewer people feel oriented. And when orientation disappears, certainty rushes in to replace it. There's a feeling a lot of people recognize now, even if they don't usually stop to think about it. Your days feel busy. You move from one thing to the next, stay productive, get things done. But when you look back, it's hard to point to anything that really stands out. That gap isn't about poor planning or lack of effort. It's about how memory actually works. Memory doesn't form just because time passes. It forms when experiences have space around them. When moments feel distinct, emotionally grounded, or allowed to settle instead of being immediately replaced by the next thing. This is where modern, AI-driven systems quietly change the texture of daily life. They're very good at removing gaps. Silence gets filled before it has a chance to register. Transitions are smooth, so nothing ever really ends. Stimulation stays steady, almost uninterrupted. One video flows into another without pause. A notification interrupts a thought before it finishes forming. Even tools meant to help you stay organized can turn the day into a continuous stream of tasks with no natural sense of completion. As a result, the brain rarely gets a clean break. Research in cognitive psychology shows that memory consolidation relies on downtime. Those pauses give the brain a chance to organize experience into something coherent, more like a story than a pile of fragments. When that doesn't happen, memory weakens. Days start to feel full, but oddly forgettable. Weeks blur together, and time seems to move faster, yet feels thinner at the same time. That's why you can spend hours consuming content and still struggle to remember what you actually watched. Not because you weren't paying attention, but because your attention never slowed down long enough to turn into meaning. When attention is constantly guided from one thing to the next, the brain stays reactive. Reflection becomes optional, and depth starts to feel inefficient. You're present for most of it, but very little stays with you. And memory is how experience becomes identity. Without it, life can feel busy, but strangely hollow. By the way, none of this means artificial intelligence is bad. Most of these systems exist because they solve real problems. They save time and reduce friction. They make modern life manageable. The issue is not control, it's accumulation. The most unsettling part is not that artificial intelligence influences you. It's how rarely you are invited to notice. Once you see the nudges, they lose some power. Not all of it, but enough. Because awareness restores choice, and choice is the one thing no system can optimize for you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want more deep dives into the future of AI, make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned. There is a lot more coming.